Usually I'm known to rock flow so fluidly. Lyrics come intelligent, but beat goes superly. See what I told that my mind did do to me. Brushing off my old self, dead no eulogy. Never ever ever could you sever from the head up. I'm not the everyday 9 to 5 kind of fella. I'm just too fly like a fighter jet propeller. And you looking for my worst, but I always get my better. You know it's Luda, boy, never been rude. And the kid been sick by the way the pen move. And it's true to assume that soon I'm that dude. Whether sun or the moon, they gon' still hit snooze. Cause I make these honeybees buzz. I hit a few times and she say it ain't enough.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Get Lost in the Hype, episode 5, I believe? Yeah, 5. If you noticed, that intro was not a quote, but it was a song. The beat was actually made by me, Stin.wav Mad Scientist. The original beat was called Keep Pressing My Line due to the sample that just repeats itself. But the homie Luca, who I am interviewing in this episode, heard that beat and decided he wanted to rap over it. So we made a nice little remix, and I figured instead of a quote for this episode, we put a little preview promo in that. Yeah, if you want to listen to the whole song, please go to my SoundCloud, which if you're listening to this podcast now, you're already on my SoundCloud. And if you're not, and you're listening to this on the Stay Sessions YouTube, then you might actually notice that, hey, there's visuals. This is my first interview that I've done over Zoom with Don't Get Lost in the Hype, so we got to record the actual video for it. So if you're watching or listening on YouTube, hello, this is my face, and you'll see through the rest of the interview. Luca is an amazing person, very humble, very spiritual, amazing musician, rapper, artist, part of the collective Grown Ass Kids, who also includes Fred the Black Kid, Marcus, and Mikey. I've not met Mikey, or no, have I met? Yeah, I might have met him. Forget what I said. But Fred, I met Luca through Fred. So Luca's an amazing person. I would encourage everyone to go listen to his music. Yeah, without further ado, let's just jump right into the interview. It's an amazing interview. So thank you.
I don't eat beats, motherfucker, I consume them. Yeah.
Awesome to see you, even though it's over to the screen.
Over the Zoom call.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go full screen on this real quick. I like the nice little background and everything.
Dude, I got the whole vibes going. The only thing I need is like some fucking weed or something. No, but man,
Wait.
I was really hoping. You good?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me
Do what
try.
you gotta do.
Let me see if I can set the vibe even like a better vibe. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Is that a better vibe? Right? No.
It's a little dark, but
I'll just go with this.
Oh, that's good. That's fire. Man, I was really hoping to like meet in person, but it's just like schedules all over the place, constantly trying to like juggle that shit. Are you still working?
Yeah. I'm working. Got a job at a hotel at this little hotel that's opening up downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be dope. I get free coffee at the Buzz because they own they own the hotel too. If you know where the Buzz is.
I don't, but yeah.
Oh, well, shit. Like it's a coffee shop basically.
Okay, yeah. Yo,
That's your dog?
Yeah, my dog he's whining. He doesn't like that I'm not paying attention to him right now. But it's all good. He's a little baby.
Wait, how old is he?
He's about 2.5, almost 3. He'll be 3 in November. Yeah. Yo, chill.
Oh,
Hang on, I'm gonna take him out real quick. I apologize.
I get it. I just got a new dog too, so I get the whole.
Fire. We'll talk about that. Hold on. Oh yeah.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, I'm good. Bro, how long? Okay, I'm going to ask you this. How long have you been, what was your first instrument, I should ask?
My first instrument? Shit. Well, I started piano in kindergarten and did that for about a year and then forgot everything about it. And I don't know. I mean, I can play a little bit now, but I guess freshman year I started playing guitar. So like 4 years now. And then I picked up, I picked up piano again. Got to learn like a bunch of the chords. Picked up the bass. This is an acoustic bass right here.
Oh, really? That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's not good for recording, but it's just good to like just play and shit.
Exactly.
But here, let me show you my newest purchase for guitar. It's an SX Telecaster.
Ooh.
Plays like butter. It's smooth as fuck.
I actually saw that you posting the picture about that. I was like, oh fuck. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't play but I grew up around like in like the church band and stuff like that. My
Oh
brother
yeah,
was
yeah,
always
yeah.
in it. So like I always had a soft spot for Telecasters. Like,
Oh
damn.
yeah, yeah. My next move is a Strat. Like I want to get a
Mm.
classic Fender Strat. It's just so much money. But
Yeah, that's the fucking thing though. I feel like music and not only music, like you can get by like on cheaper shit with certain types of music and certain types of genres and whatnot,
yeah,
but even like a lot of the arts can be so expensive, like videography. When I tried to get into like cinematography and shit like that, I was like, there's no way I can fund all this right now. Like,
the cameras, and then the editing. Like it's not even just like a money investment or whatever. It's a time investment too to
mhm.
learn all the softwares and learn how to edit and all that. It's crazy.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I spent so long. I can do Premiere Pro pretty all right, like, but I haven't
Mhm.
used it in a while. But yeah, no, like uh Johnny, who's shot you guys' video.
I just seen him at the Buzz. Like
Yeah,
literally before I came back home.
dude, I'm a fan of his work so far. Like from what I've seen and stuff, even like the Icarus video and shit. Like, man,
Hmm.
and that Blessings video, that looks like I'm excited for that shit.
I am too. I'm excited for everybody to see it. I think a lot of people like it. It's like just sort of like relevant towards what's
Right.
going on right now. You
Because
know.
especially that's 100% true. When I went, because I heard that song when you and Fred performed it live for the first time. That was
Oh
the
yeah,
first
yeah,
time?
yeah.
Yeah, because I remember it was just so cool watching the process of you guys like passing the mix back and forth, and then like sitting in the car and like going back and forth. I was like, it's like, damn, they know what they're doing. They got it.
Yeah, no, I love that song. Like
Mm.
I'm really happy we finally got around to releasing it. But
Oh,
thank you,
fire,
bro. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
No, I definitely. It's one of my favorite songs because we definitely need more positive energy. Like, but I feel like, and this is what I want to kind of ask you too, is getting into this with positive songs and things of that nature. I feel like they can sometimes fall under as corny or like not, whatever. How do you differentiate corniness and realness when it comes to positivity?
Um, well, it really depends on like if I can understand somebody's motive for creating the song. Like if somebody's making like a really like positive song, but they're like just kind of doing it just because that's what's doing well right now. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm,
at the same time, most of the way I base it off of, or my opinion off of, like if a song's corny or not, is how I feel from it in a sense, and if I can like pick up on like where they put in everything they had in it, like all their emotions and everything in it. Like if somebody's feeling happy and they make a happy song, you can feel that. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So it's like it's a lot of just, and obviously all art is subjective towards everyone. Like some people have their own opinions, like, oh, this is corny, this is not corny, this is super emotional, super in depth, super
Right.
well, everything. So
Well,
it's sort of like just with my perspective, I like to think of it as just the feeling I get
mm.
from it.
So I
I'll
remember
send it to you later.
asking you a while back when I first started this podcast, like what you would want to necessarily talk about. And, it can kind of go all over the place. This goes with anything, but you brought up just mainstream music in general, like the mainstream side of like scenes and stuff like that. Cause I know Fred and I talked a little bit about like the beginning stages and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, Within the mainstream music, and this is such a broad statement, but that's where we're going to kind of branch off into this shit.
Yeah.
What
We'll
are
get
some
in depth.
what are some hypes and things that you have seen that you really want to touch on?
I what I love that is being made right now is just a bunch of genres being mixed together into like I guess it's I mean, it is sort of like the mainstream is catching on to it, but just a bunch of genres coming together, and that's so cool to me because, like, okay, going into freshman year, all I had ever listened to my whole life was like just only rap, like really only rap, and like super old school stuff. Um, and obviously that's what like my music was in the beginning. But then I like went to school. I actually went to a private school for high school. So that like, and then I would go 20 minutes out of Kenosha where I live, where it's like more of like a city. And then that was on like in Summers, if you know where that is. It's like a whole
Yeah.
like country place. And then I just got to meet a whole bunch of people with different influences, and I'd listen to their music, and I got like super into rock, super into super into a bunch of stuff like punk, like a whole bunch of different genres, and that just opened me up to a, like so many styles and eras of music that like it just kind of blew my mind because I was so sleep on it. Like I would just sleep on it before, and now I
Right.
was like okay, here's my new thing. I went to the thrift store the other day, bought an iPod Nano with some random person's music on it. That's all I've been listening to like the past couple days.
It already had music loaded
Whatever.
onto it.
Yeah, bro. Like here, let me look on what's. Oh, damn, it's charging right now. But yeah, it had a bunch of like different like Jack Johnson. It had Outkast, Andre 3000, like like not his solo stuff, but you know the album
Yeah.
Below.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
sort of like a solo album.
No, because I saw you were listening to Vibrate, and I was like, I was literally
Yeah,
just,
yeah, bro.
vibrating to that. Like that.
Bro,
we
like
I'm sorry. We brought when we were doing the 50-mile march, I only got a chance to be with the protesters from like Waukesha to Dousman. So for like only one day or so, but I was in my car helping escort, and I had a whole playlist going, and I made sure I put that song on there because it's just like, it really does bring a higher vibration to like the environment and shit.
bro, and I love how that beats is just all like reverse stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just reversed all the drums, and I don't know. I just think that's a super sick song
Yeah.
that a lot of people sleep on.
Oh, they do. Definitely. Definitely.
Right.
So going back to the whole
Mainstream.
mainstream and hypes of things within the mainstream, and this kind of goes with the question I've been asking everybody: what is hype, and is it good or is it bad?
You're asking for my opinion or what I think of when I think of hype.
Yeah, especially in depth, in touch with the mainstream. I mean, it can be in touch with anything, but what is your perception on hype, and is hype a good or is it a bad thing? I've heard a lot of mixed answers.
Okay, there's two different ways my mind went with the word when I heard it and then related it to mainstream music. The first thing is obviously like what's at the top of the charts, what's like doing super well over a wide range of audiences, and what's the most prevalent and popular songs or albums or artists in the mainstream right now. But then I thought of another thing with hype. I also thought about who's coming up and who's doing something different because that's a hype in and of itself. Like who's coming or emerging onto the scene and just giving people something different than what they're used to, because that I feel like that is the most, for me, that's the most hype thing, because when I think of hype, it gets my energy, it gets me excited and everything, and it gets me excited to see people coming out doing new things, experimenting with sounds and genres that people don't necessarily do in the mainstream media, but making it decent or getting up to a high enough level to be considered mainstream.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
So you would consider hype to be a positive word then?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I definitely think it is a positive thing, because when I think of it, I think of just like, I mean, not to be like super basic or anything, but I think of energy, like a
Of
shift in
course.
energy or whatever.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that when I started, I don't even remember where I came up with the title. I'm pretty sure I was high or some shit. But like, no. Okay, know what it was? I'm sorry. I've been, if you see my posts or talking or whatever, I listen to a lot of Ram Dass. It
Yeah,
connects with me like really well. And he was giving this great lesson
rest in
about
peace.
just Yes, definitely. Rest in peace. Giving this great lesson just about like the journey of life or whatever it was called. I forgot the title to the lecture, but towards the end of it, he was saying there's all this stuff going on like in life, like there's all this chaos, drama, ups, downs, like happy, sad, you're always going through something, there's always an experience happening,
Yeah.
whatever. And he's like, it's all, and I think I don't know if he used the word, but he said it's all just hype. And he's like, don't get lost in it, don't get caught in it, don't get caught in like
Hmm.
the drama of things. And so that's why I kind of came up with this. That's why. But yeah, at the same time, when I heard that, I thought, okay, but I've also heard you hype used positively, like, oh, that's so hype, I'm hyped for this, I'm hyped for that. So it's
Yeah.
like, I feel like it really is perspective. Like, that's why I'm kind of asking people, like, what do you consider to be hype? And is that hype a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Can it go either way? Because when I was talking to Cam Sky and Waterloo, they brought up like people like DJ Academics or like 6ix9ine and shit like that.
Oh,
And calling
yeah.
them, saying like that's the bad hype. Like that's the hype that's just
I'd
like,
agree.
yeah, like
That's like the shit that people feed into and just
drama. Like,
yeah, it's
so
just created. But I guess I didn't think about this, but when we say the word hype, what does that come from? Does that come from the word hyper or hyperactive?
yeah, I don't know
Or
actually. I have no
I
clue.
kind of want to. Hold on, let me just
Go
look it up.
ahead.
I bet you
Yeah.
there's something on Urban Dictionary or something,
Yeah.
or like because it's an interesting. Oh, it's a clothing brand. Oh, extravagant or intensive publicity or promotion.
Mm,
So that is the Webster's definition of it. So I mean, it doesn't have a negative or a positive connotation inherently. It's
mm,
just sort of, I guess, it's just sort of how you perceive it individually.
right.
It could either be negative or positive. It's neutral
And
in and of itself.
that's something I've been really studying and sitting with within my own life, not just with the word hype, but with almost anything. You start to realize that almost anything in life can be perceived as positive or negative. Definitely, there are some things that majority of people would consider to be negative, and
Yeah,
there are things that majority of people consider to be positive. But when you like, okay, we'll kind of get into this too. You would consider yourself a spiritual person, correct?
yeah,
Yeah. So
for sure.
have you like going into meditation or whatever methods you use to reach those spiritual states?
Hmm.
Have you ever come across the feeling or the idea of this, that everybody is this, like, I know this sounds so basic, but it's like everybody and everything is, we're all the
Connected.
same. Yeah, we're all connected. We're all on the same planet. We're all doing the same thing, just like through different experiences and dramas and things of that nature. But then we kind of lean either left or right, whether it be with politics or be with, music or be with like our
Yeah,
actions and behaviors. So like with hype, I guess that was something where I was in a deep psychedelic state. Like, I'm just going to say that I was tripping, and yeah. And I was listening to Ram Dass, and I think it was the same thing. I think that's where I got the name for it. And it was like, I was seeing almost like, if you see in my logo, there's all these stars and stuff. It's like every
yeah.
hype and every drama, it's its own little star, its own little universe and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
you're kind of the whole part of the whole thing and you're stuck with it. So how do you, Luca, let's say hype is a quote unquote negative thing, or hope, or even not even negative, but just overwhelming. How do you deal with the hypes of life and the hypes of music? How do you stay grounded amongst all of that, or at least focused?
Well, hmm, when I think of hype, yeah, it's like, well, like you had explained it, it's everything going on like around here. And I'd say the best way that I deal with it is detachment from the situation, which isn't the case for every situation. There's definitely situations where you want to fully experience and
Mm,
be a part of, but you want to detach yourself from trying to control the situations, I guess. That's
mm,
how I would put it. And it's also like I think about it like this, just not trying to, because I feel like we get an overwhelming sense of hype when when we try to control everything around us. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
trying to control how people perceive us, what is going to happen, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. And that I just I think that's a flawed way of perceiving how to just go about your life. I think you have to use some form of detachment to realize everything will come and it goes. It's like stoicism
Mm.
or stoicism,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, stoicism.
You have everything pass before you. You don't let it you don't let yourself get pulled into it and you are being pulled along with the current of it.
Mm.
You just let it pass through you and you experience it fully and let it go. That's why the past and the future is they're dangerous things to be caught in. If you're so caught in the future, you're gonna miss out on shit that's happening right now. But if you're so caught up in the past, you're gonna try and go back to that and recreate the situations
Yeah.
that you've experienced before. And
See,
that is not good either because there's a time and a place for everything to occur in your life and you need to move on from that because I guarantee there's better shit waiting for you.
oh, definitely. I think my mom used to say this quote when I was younger, and she would say, "You can't drive forward looking in the rearview mirror. Like you can't, like you can't be caught in the
Yeah.
past. And then if you're constantly looking like what's farther ahead, you're like you said, you're missing out what's right now. Actually, that goes back to the first episode where I talked to Fred. The quote that I put in the beginning was from Alan Watts, and Alan Watts says, it's called Wu Wei, where it's the old philosophy where it's you don't force anything, and it's not about not trying, it's not about not doing, but just not to force anything. Like if you stick a key in a lock and try to jimmy it and it doesn't turn, you're not going to try to force the key because it's going to break the key. You got to pull it out,
Move
try
on
it
to the
again.
next door
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
or
Oh,
get
move on
another
to the
key.
next door. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then also going back to my interview with Arc G of the Fat Nerds, he was saying we were talking about taking a step back from things and observing. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're right up next to a painting like the Mona Lisa and you're like, I don't understand it, like I can't, like I don't get what everyone's so whatever, it's like, dude, take a step back, you're way too fucking close. Like you got to see the whole
Yeah,
picture.
the
So
big picture.
yeah, like I think that's something that I think we all need to learn. But it is the balance of um, being involved in the here and now without getting caught in the bullshit, being aware of the issues on at hand, but not getting caught in the way the media pushes those issues
Yeah.
and all that shit. So I guess we'll kind of go back to the music side of things. I guess I'll start asking you a little bit about your journey and stuff like that. So Fred told me that you guys had known each other when you were younger.
Oh, since as long as I could remember. That's the
Yeah.
craziest thing. It was I mean, our parents had always been friends, and I would go over to his house all the time. Like I would spend weeks at his house when my parents would go out of town. I just spend weeks at his house, just living there basically.
Mm.
But then, like once he started going to high school, once I could stay at home by myself, we kind of just split ways, but we kind of reconverged in the weirdest way. Like it was just I don't know if he told you the story, but either way, I'm gonna tell it again.
Oh, go
Is
ahead.
so basically, my mom was over at his mom's house, and he had just came back from college, and he was thinking about dropping out. I'm pretty sure, and he wanted to get into music, and then just so happened a week before I had posted my first song, so my mom knew I was doing music and everything. Well, she had been knowing, but she could
Yeah.
actually tell people I was doing it. And then she was talking to Mrs. Steinerman's Fred's mom, and was basically saying, "Oh, I'm doing music." And he heard that. And he was like, "Oh, really?" And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit Luca up, and we can work on something." And then he did. He came over. We worked on the song. The song was is actually his number one song right now still.
Yeah.
But, but he hates it. And I mean I did awful on the mix and everything too, but it's just funny how that stuff works.
Which one is that?
The come up.
Okay. Yeah.
If you know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
but
man.
after that we were just talking for like reconnecting. We were talking for like an hour or two, just talking
Mm,
about music and all and everything. It was just a weird like we just reconnected like we didn't even
of
leave off.
course. Yeah. So you, at what point in your life did you kind of realize like, oh, I can do this shit like for real? Like, because I feel like there's a lot of kids that start off like, yeah, I can do music, and then they end up not. Like,
Yeah. Well, I guess seventh grade, like my friend used to like we would be at lunch and my friend used to like make beats on the table, like pounding on the table and shit, and literally I just freestyle or like spit something from like another song that I've heard, but I like match the rhythm and like go like do my own stuff with it, change some words, and then go
mm,
off of that and start freestyling. And then like we were like, oh, that was pretty good.
that's
We should
fire.
work on freestyling more. And then I'd worked on, and then literally from seventh grade till the first time I posted um, an actual song was the summer after sophomore year in high school. So up until then, I literally wrote 2 pages of lyrics every night before I went to bed. Like I have a
Mm.
whole like 4 binders full of just lyrics.
Oh, so you got your 10,000 hours in early,
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I
bro.
just and
If you
that
know,
helped me out.
if you know anything about I'm not going to say and act like I know too much about everything, but if you know about the story of Outkast and how they kind of got started and
Yes.
whatnot,
Oh
like they
my
were
gosh, have you watched that
lyrical boot
documentary?
camp. I think I
They
might
literally
have
would
watched
like
it.
run around the block and be rapping at the same time and stuff.
Right.
And
And
yeah,
it's like
me
that's
and Fred
almost,
talk about that all the time.
yo, that's like, I'm like, damn, like they were one of their it's arguably Andre 3000 is the greatest of all time, like arguably. Like,
I think so.
yeah, no, I think I don't necessarily think he's overlooked, because I think people definitely are like, yeah, Andre 3000, great. But when it comes to like greatest of all time, like people always like seem to put him like a little lower on the list. And it's like, why? Like, I think he's literally probably one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's my reason of putting him up on like he's my favorite lyricist and one of my probably my second favorite hip hop artist of all time because of the fact that um he started off so much so much different than where he ended off. I mean, he's still not like technically ended, but I mean, he
right.
said that he doesn't want to keep doing it if he just feels like he's gonna fall off. But like, look at the progression. He went from Southern playalistic Cadillac music, where it was just all rap, no, not really too many melodies. Then AC Aliens,
Hmm.
a little bit more of that. And then Aquemini,
Yeah.
like he just picked it up. Like, have you heard the song Chonky Fire?
Oh yeah,
Like that
dude.
song blows my mind. And he picked up piano, guitar, like oh, there's a picture of him that I posted on my story a while ago where he had the same Telecaster that I got, like a butterscotch Telecaster, and he was playing it. I was like, no way, like what the fuck? Andre 2000 plays the same guitar as me. But yeah, no, like in moving on to stuff like The Love Below, like that album in and of itself is one of my favorite albums. Like you got songs like Prototype, Hey Ya, like
Hmm.
which was all different shit than what was coming out at the time. He was really one of the first people to cross genres like that, and he sort of like implemented like people like Prince into
Oh
rap and
yeah.
like
He definitely pushed boundaries and pushed the genre completely. Because what was it during the was it the Source Awards, where it was like the whole East Coast West Coast beef was
oh
going
yeah,
on, and like
and he's
they
like
were
all I
just
gotta
like,
say is the South got something to say. That's all I gotta
yeah,
say.
yeah. No, they definitely were like pushing that shit. And I think this goes back to what Fred and I were talking about too, is an artist progression and finding. Oh, and actually, I talked about this with um, Waterloo and Cam Sky also, but like finding your voice and finding your sound, because everybody, I feel like, starts off trying to sound like their favorite rappers or their
Oh yeah,
favorite artists, not even just with rap, but like everybody starts off trying to, but then eventually you got to kind of work your way out, like, okay, like this is what my voice sounds like, so maybe I should start doing a little bit of this, throw in an
yeah.
ad lib here, maybe this will be my catchphrase type of thing. Like, so how important is it to you that, like, do you think people should just come out and do whatever, or do you think they should establish themselves more? Because it sounds better to say, oh, I established myself, but at the same time there's a little bit less of a free flowing stream of consciousness, I guess you
Yeah.
want to say.
Well, I'd say everybody's got to start somewhere. And if that is like learning from your favorite artist how to do stuff, then so be it. I mean, that's how it was for me. But at the same time, I don't think, I don't, it's like, okay, I don't think you're going to make it to the next level without finding your own style. Back in old school, if you took somebody's flow, like you would just like, you took somebody's way of rapping or whatever, it's like you can't do that shit. Like that
Mm.
shit would not fly. And that's sort of how it is nowadays, and it's kind of sad. Like people just, take each other's flow, do what's popular, and that's not how it was. But I think
Mm.
it's sort of getting back to it because I feel like the levels of, I mean, like I said earlier, like people are just creating a different type of music than before. People have access to whatever type of sounds now. They can just literally make a fucking a
Yeah.
masterpiece, like just in their house, like
Oh, exactly.
right
So
here.
I would say one of the greatest progressions of music in the last little while has been Tyler the Creator, like going from
Oh yeah,
his old
Igor,
like
like,
grimy
are you
shit,
kidding me?
yeah, to like
Like,
now Igor is like still I still listen to that shit. Like it's insane. But what I think my friend Tori and I were talking about this. We said like kind of like what you were saying earlier, how genres are mixing and blending and stuff like that. It almost is no longer like we're not quite at that point yet, but it's almost no longer genres anymore. Now it's just like music
yeah,
because you're seeing
yeah,
people
and I
from.
love that shit.
It's so great because everybody's starting to realize like, oh, we're just doing this. Like this is just it's all been a game. It's all been a fun like musical journey. Like even though like people take it seriously and like stuff like that, for a long time it was like rock versus rap and it was East Coast
Yeah,
versus West Coast and it was
grunge
versus,
and the
yeah,
grunge took the spotlight in like the '90s over like hip hop and all
right.
that shit.
And now that like it's funny because it took hip hop to really show people that anybody can do anything. I'm not gonna lie, it hip hop gave me a confidence that I'd never like. I'm not a rapper or anything. Like you heard me, I can rap and I've done like little things here and there, but I'm not like that's not my lane. So like, but that just being involved and hanging out with rappers and talking to whoever, like it's brought me a confidence and like this awareness and understanding of like how things work way more than a lot of genres have. But like I think
Yeah,
what you were saying though, it does blend. It brings back so many different things. Like I have no shame in going back and listening to some old bands that I used to listen to in high school because it's all just vibrations. It's all just music. It's all just happening. Like,
yeah.
so I want to ask who was your first favorite like
Kanye,
artist? Like who was
Kanye.
yeah,
Yeah,
Kanye?
bro. Okay, funny story. So like, well, it's not like a funny story, but
Yeah.
back when I was in like preschool, um, my brothers would. I had this little iPod shuffle,
Mm.
and they would just put the college dropout, late registration, graduation, all up on there. Those were the only three albums that were out at the time. But they
Yeah,
put all their
similar
stuff
times.
on my iPod, and then I get into preschool, and they'd have like the little preschool like kid songs, and I used to get written up, and like they'd call my parents because they're like, Luca's never singing along to the songs, he doesn't like them or anything, and then they're like, he only wants to turn on his iPod and stuff, whatever we sing. It was like that's all I listened to
Hey.
was Kanye. Like the song Spaceship by
Mm.
Kanye off the College Dropout. That was my
Yeah.
favorite song for like at least a year. And
Man,
yeah,
I feel like
like
that's all I heard growing up. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I was younger, I was into like more of like the rock and like punk and stuff like that. So like,
yeah,
there was like moments where I was like, I I wasn't into rap for a little while because the people that would make fun of me were all into rap. So like, I was just kind of like in my feelings about shit and like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, why you guys fucking
Like
hate
fuck
me?
you guys
Yeah, exactly. Like I was trying to be rebellious and hold up
and
some
what
sort
you
of
like.
image. But then like as I got older and I started like listening to it for myself, I was like, oh shit, like yeah. And I just remember hearing Kanye all the time, everywhere, no matter like it was like you always heard and still you're still hearing about Kanye. Like to this
Bro,
day.
especially right now. Like just dropped a song yesterday. Did you hear that song he dropped? Donda?
Yesterday?
Was it yesterday? I think it
I
was
did not
yesterday.
hear I heard Wash Us in the Blood. That was
Yeah, that one was. Did you see the music video?
that show is fire.
Bro, I love that. It was like like one of the most interesting music videos I've seen in a super long time. But hold on, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, 23 hours ago. He dropped the song Donda. It was like a nice little short song. It was dope though.
Okay, yeah.
It was
So,
for his mother because it was her birthday yesterday.
oh yeah. So that's actually nice then.
Yeah.
Um, so what was I gonna ask here about Kanye or something?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. My brain is not doing well today. No. So Kanye, you started off listening to Kanye. What kind of expanded from there? Like, kind of walk me through that.
um, you want me to go through my whole progression of
I mean,
just
like you don't gotta like take
like
like
super in
hours.
depth?
Yeah,
Okay,
but like
I'll
a
make it
conversation.
brief. I'll
Yeah.
do a summary.
All right.
So it started off with Kanye, obviously, and then it was like Kid Cudi started like
Mm,
really doing a lot of stuff, um, and Lupe Fiasco, like one of
yeah,
the
yeah,
probably
yeah.
the most underrated rapper in my opinion.
Definitely,
So good. Like Food and
definitely.
Liquor, like freshman year, like okay, I copped the CD like eighth grade year, and then every day going to school freshman year, 20-minute car ride, I listened to Food and Liquor from front to back, or like as long as I could before I got there, every
Right.
single day. And but yeah, so it went to Lupe to well, obviously Outkast was in there like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, then it got into where did it go? Then I got really into like Wu Tang, Tribe,
Wu
all that,
Tang.
like, and then Mos Def, Black Star, Talib Kweli, all
I've
them.
seen him live,
Really?
dude.
No
At
way.
Soundset, it was like the weirdest thing because like I knew like Soundset was like a year or two ago, like last summer or some shit. And we went because the lineup was stacked. It was like one day and it was only like maybe $100 or some shit like that. And it was like a really nice festival. There was Black Star, Lil Wayne, uh,
Damn.
like people like DMX was playing, Doja Cat, Flatbush Zombies, Joey Badass, like all these like
Oh, dang.
yeah, I was sold. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to that. Like, fuck you guys. But
That's worth it.
yeah, no, and I remember I didn't see that Black Star was playing. Like I didn't like there was so much on the lineup that I was like, all right, whatever. And
Then
then
you
we're walking
got there.
around. We were walking around, and then all of a sudden I'm like, is that Most Def? Like what the fuck? Like, it was the coolest thing. YB and Cordae played. Like oh man. Oh, and
I
then
mean,
this is
for days.
this. Yeah, no,
Oh,
he's
fuck.
insane.
I
This is the
love
crazy
it.
thing was Lil Uzi Vert was supposed to play, and then he canceled at the last minute. And then they were like, "All right, we'll bring out Lil Nas X like out of nowhere." And it was right after Old
What?
Town Road had dropped, and so it was like the most lit thing I had ever seen. Like everybody was like losing their minds and shit. It was awesome. But oh yeah, this is what I was gonna ask. I completely because we were talking about Kanye and talking about like wash us in the blood, and then we are talking about spirituality and stuff like that. Did you grow up Christian?
Yeah. I mean, I still consider myself Christian, but I
Okay.
feel like the most, I mean, it's hard to explain exactly what I believe, but I feel like one of the most important thing in our life is to have a spiritual connection to God first before like it's good like I read the Bible every night like right before I go to
Mm,
bed, but it's good to just get in tune with yourself, get in tune with your source where all your energy is coming from. Pray, meditate, raising your vibration, all that stuff. You
mm.
know what I'm saying? And then
So
learning from what Jesus was teaching us because Jesus like a lot of Christians go to like, oh, he died for our sins. True, but what was he teaching us when he was alive? Like
right.
what was he teaching? He was teaching us how to treat people, how to love people. In the Bible, my favorite passage is in Matthew, I think Matthew 12. It says somebody came up to Jesus in the temple and he asked him, teacher, what are the two greatest commandments? And Jesus
Mm.
replied with, I tell you this, two greatest commandments are love God above all else and love your neighbor as yourself. And that's what Christianity is to me.
It's so funny to me because like I also grew up Christian, but I grew up kind of like in the more religious like side of it, like I guess
And
you could say. And
I
I
was
bought.
like, my whole family's Lutheran.
Okay, yeah. We were the non-denominational, but we were still pretty evangelical. Like that's how it
Yeah,
was. Like, and like not to talk shit. Like that's the thing is because I've come to realize as I got older, like I bought into a lot of that shit. Like I bought into the politics of things. I bought into like,
yeah,
what I thought the church wanted me to do and say and stuff. But I found out that like I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't being true to like who I wanted to be and all this stuff because I felt like if I were, then I'd be cast to hell because of who I was and whatnot. And I think guilt and things like that are very much a thing that hold people back. But there's a point where most people who grew up in the American Christian church, they reach a point where they realize like, oh, I bought into all that, and they feel guilty and all this stuff, that they walk away from it completely and they say, well, I'm an atheist now, or I'm
yeah,
this and I'm that. And I'm not, those people have the right to do what they want. I completely understand why you would want to become an atheist after, if you've experienced abuse or if you've experienced manipulation or lying or anything like that. But what I've come to realize is no matter how much I tried to like turn away from my old self, or so much how much I tried to like run away from that spiritual side of something, there was that Christ energy that always came back. There was always that
yeah,
unconditional love, that serving of like, no, like this is legit. You just gotta like really like don't like. I remember there was a moment, not to get too on me, I apologize, but
no,
um
I'm it's important. It's important right here. Like
oh,
this is the
definitely.
real, like,
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people to open up about like their shit and whatnot. But
yeah,
like there was a moment where I was really questioning everything. Like I was like, I don't know what to believe anymore. Like I didn't want to let go because I was like, if I let go and then I end up burning in hell for this, like it's not worth it. And then I'm like, but I can't keep holding on to something I just don't necessarily believe or don't necessarily think about. And so I had like a prayer, but I was swearing in the prayer, obviously, but I was like, all right, fuck. I was like, fuck what the church says. I was like, fuck what my friends say, fuck what my mind says, fuck what all this other stuff. I was like, I just want to know truth. All I want to know is what's true, what's real. Like I want to love people. I want to serve people. I don't want to be, who I was. I want to continue on. I want to progress. And it was like, ever since then, everything changed. And I started to like slowly pick up pieces of like what I used to believe and be like, okay, so this is true. Okay, so this is politics. Okay, so this is actual. Okay, so this is more just manipulation. Oh, this was, or I pick up something from the Bible and I'll say, oh, I remember reading this as a kid and now I see it in a completely different light.
yeah. Like
Like,
that's sort of how I am too. Like, um, okay, when I think of the Bible, like I think of the acronym Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. You know what I'm saying?
I never heard
I
that.
think yeah. And then I think of it like, okay, I don't necessarily believe in a hell like how the Bible describes it. Like I think,
Mm,
okay, when you hear the word God, what's that missing? That's missing one letter O, good. You say the devil, that's adding the D to evil. You
right.
know, I feel like this plane of existence is right in between the good and the evil.
Mm,
And what you do, it's not as I don't. My perception of it is it's not as much about like, oh, I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior. Maybe that is the answer. Maybe that
right.
is the answer. Nobody at the end of the day, nobody really fucking knows because that was so long ago. Nobody knew him, and nobody
Right.
knows if the Bible's been literally translated to everything perfectly, or if like people like Constantine were messing with the
Yeah.
that and taking out books, pulling out words and sentences. But literally, I just see it as is if God I think he sent Jesus into the earth to teach
Mm,
us how to live. He was the Son of God, or I mean, if you even consider it like a son, like and the
right.
Father, like, that's just like ways for humans to understand it. It's obviously a lot more deeper than that. But
Yeah.
I believe that it's just literally you reap what you sow. That's in the Bible. If you do good acts, I feel like you are all good when it comes to the afterlife. All life is preparing for that afterlife. That's
Right.
how I see it. Or experiencing what's here and preparing for the afterlife. And if you constantly neglect everything around you, you treat others like shit. If you have like the worst, like just genuinely like you have evil living in your heart instead of good,
Yeah.
I feel like you don't necessarily you miss out on what like you miss out on a level because
Mm.
I sort of like it how in Islam they describe heaven
Mm.
as Jannah. There's 7 levels of Jannah. Like obviously one's pretty fucking shitty, like
Right.
like the first level, but the 7 level like this almost like tier system, and I
Yeah. Well, and
kind
that's
of
one.
like the thought of that.
Sorry. No, there's the one thing that I think what we were talking about, like genre mixing with music. I like the idea of all religions kind of coming together into one thing. Like we all have there's different hypes in different religions. There's different things and dramas and saviors and people and whatnot and stories.
Prophets and all
Yeah.
that.
One time I was having a meditative psychedelic trance or whatever, and I saw this, and I brought this up in Dima's episode too. I saw this like room that was filled with eyes, and the walls were covered with eyes, and everything was covered with eyes. And in the middle of this room, there was this object, and this object was what I perceived to be the ultimate truth. But the ultimate truth looked different from every single angle. So all these
Mhm.
eyes are looking at this truth, and they're all describing it as, I see truth as this. No, I see truth as this. No, I see truth as this. And all these like eyes like started saying like, well, I see horrible things. I see great things. I see some mediocre things. I see some exciting things. Like it was like, so what I got out of that was the truth is the truth, and we're all right and we're all wrong. Like this is
Yeah,
it's
that's sort of like the blind man and the elephant. You know that comparison where it's like one person goes up and is feeling the elephant, they feel its trunk and they're like, "Oh, it's a tree." Another person feels its tail and they're like, "Oh, it's a broom," or I don't know what the actual
mm,
like objects are, but
right.
that's like the whole concept of it is nobody can grasp the whole view of the elephant.
Right. Um, that also brings back a parable that I heard from Ramdas where he talks about he brought up a story of these two monks. Or no, there was a monk and a samurai, and the samurai came up to the monk and was like, "Monk, can you teach me about heaven and hell?" And the monk says, "Teach you about heaven and hell? You're stupid. You're worthless." Like he started like just like the monk was ripping on the samurai, and the samurai was getting angrier and angrier because he was just ripping on him. He was like, I can't teach you. You're so dumb. Like, why would anyone want to talk to you? And so the samurai pulls out his sword of getting ready to decapitate the monk, and the monk says, "That's hell." And then in that moment, the samurai put away his sword and he goes, "And that's heaven." Like just like saying like you're getting caught in the bullshit, and that might be hell to you because you're listening to what other people are perceiving about you, and how like if we're all connected, if we're all a part of the divine, if we're all a piece of the truth, and we're treating each other like this and like that, it really will reflect back onto us. Talking about karma, talking about what you sow you shall reap. But
Hmm.
going back to like the whole mixing thing, um, I think some of the greatest lessons taught by Christ are also taught by Buddha, or also taught by
Yeah.
Krishna. Like it's the same, like they're talking about the same thing. Like they may not be the same people, it may not be like the same like predicament.
Context. Like Jesus
Yeah.
was in the Jewish, Old Testament Jewish context.
Yeah, yeah.
Buddha was coming from a Hindu context out of India.
Right. Right. So like and that brings up another point that I was going to bring that I was going to talk about was spirituality and Christianity. What are some of the um I guess you could say hypes and things that you've experienced throughout your spiritual journey?
Hmm. So when you say, are you like leaving this open for interpretation for me to like say like the first
I'll
thing that
leave
comes to my mind?
I'll leave it open for interpretation. I guess my original question does kind of um pertain to if hype is necessarily more of on the negative side. Like what are some things that you've experienced where like, yeah, that's just a bunch of drama? And then what are also, I'm going to ask you again, what are some of the things that you've experienced that you're like, oh, this is real?
That's a good question. Um,
I just want to hear some, like if you have stories or if you even have just like a feeling or a thought on something.
well, I mean, going to a private Christian school for high school,
Mm,
it was like the way religion class was taught to me was I think it was just wrong. Like the way they taught it, it was literally they're trying to implement their truth on you instead of, there was no discussion on it really on like if you believed in something different. Like there was no discussion on it. It would be like you kind of get shut down. Like, that's not what we believe, so you can't say that. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So it'd be like there would be no discussion, no openness. It would just be every teacher was projecting what they were. Not every. There were actually a few really good teachers that would try to see things through your perspective and gather understanding and share their understanding with you, which is the best way. The best way to come to the conclusion of all that is just plain straight up discussion.
Right.
And I guess one of the hypes about the Christian religion that I have is the black and whiteness of it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's very and I'm not saying that like color skins or nothing.
But
I'm
the
talking about
duality,
like,
yeah.
and it's like there's really just like people interpret it as clear and cut. This is exactly what it is, and don't take into consideration. And there's also like with a lot of Christians, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance because of what they're taught. There is a lot of cognitive dissonance because they're taught from a young age, like this is exactly what it is. Like everything else is just bullshit. Everything else is just gonna try to sway you one way. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I can't say that I know it's necessarily the case because what the fuck do we really know? But like I just don't. It doesn't make any sense in my head how I perceive it. It should be more of an open conversation because, like you said, that turns people off from Christianity. Like people literally trying to control them and sort of like brainwashed. It should always be a discussion. You should always be building a relationship with the people because the Christian church takes relationships with people like for granted. And I'm not trying to say anything about the Christian church in general, but from what I've experienced, they just take the relationships for granted and be like, oh, you need to focus on like studying this and knowing that this is the truth. And I sort of feel like I'm repeating myself. But
No. There's definitely a lot of politics and business within the American Christian church. And like, not, like I said, not to cast judgment, because there are people like my mom who find a home in the church. They find a peace and a solace. And I never want to take that away.
That's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. It's very beautiful. But then there are people like me where every time, well, at least the churches I have gone to, I kind of get like uncomfortable. Like it's not really like, oh, I can't handle it type of thing, but it's more of just like I'd rather talk like you and I are talking now about God. Like I'd rather make a connection. Like I'd rather be like, no, let's actually
like singing hymns and like
like just listening to like, oh, this is why God put Trump in office type of thing. Like it's just
fuck that.
Yeah, no, not saying that's what but whatever.
I actually have one more thing.
No, go ahead.
I just thought of it is like a lot of the American church, I feel like is leaning more towards like what Jesus was so adamant against. Like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the leaders of the Jewish temple, they were like saying, do this, do this, do this, do that, do that. And I feel like that the Christian church now are like spiritual gatekeepers to like afterlife or eternity. And I don't think that's how it should be because I mean, when Jesus like when he interacted with people, take for example the prostitute that they were about to stone that they found in the city. The Pharisees and Sadducees were about to throw rocks at her and kill her by stoning her, and Jesus was there. They asked him. They were trying to test him. They asked him, "What should we do?" And he said, "Let he who is without sin throw the first stone." And it was the only one without sin there, or what people say. I think he was without sin.
Yeah,
but
right.
Like he was the only one who could have thrown a stone by what he said. And what did he do?
Still didn't.
He said, "Yeah, he didn't. He showed love to that person."
Exactly.
Like, it's all about forgiveness for not holding shit against people because people are gonna fuck up. And just knowing, because he could tell what was in people's hearts, I think, and knowing if there's good in people's hearts, but their actions may show something different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sort of contradicted what I said earlier, but I feel like what's in your heart is the most important thing. And also, it's also like, sorry, I didn't mean
no, go ahead, keep going.
One more point is when Jesus was on the cross with the two criminals beside him. That was like one of my main things in Christianity too, that I believe with everything, is like Jesus was on the cross. Obviously, he didn't do nothing to get on the cross. People just hated what he was saying. But
Exactly.
there's one to the right of him, or I don't know which side, but he was like mocking him, saying, "Oh, if you are the Son of God, get us all off of these crosses." He's just mocking him, and the other one said, "Don't you see that this man is blameless, and we both deserve this punishment?" And then he was just sort of just sort of like not covering for Jesus, but he was just like, I feel like Jesus could see he had a good heart in him.
Right.
He said, and he didn't say, "Oh, because you believe in me, you will be in paradise." He said, "Surely I tell you this, today you will be with me in paradise."
Mm.
Did he say that, "Oh, because you believe in Jesus and
Yeah.
myself, you are going to go to heaven"? No, he could see what was in his heart. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Like, no, and that's the thing too, is I think with I studying other religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, they seem to hold Jesus to a very high standard. Like they're like, no, Jesus was a
Yeah,
good dude. But then you talk to like Christians and they're like, Buddhism is demonic, like Hinduism is
yeah. Like
demonic.
what?
Like, and it's just like I get like that things make you uncomfortable, like symbols and things like that. Like you feel like anything that doesn't look like a traditional American Christian thing is satanic or whatever. But like you were saying, Jesus was all about showing unconditional love to whoever. Like Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan theologian, I think he is. He says, "I like my Jesus with wine and prostitutes." Like he's just basically saying like Jesus is he's there for everybody. He shows an unconditional love. Ram Dass brought up Maharaji, who was his guru, the Neem Karoli Baba, who would always talk about Jesus. He would always say like I shared this story a little bit ago, but he brought up they were asking him, oh, Maharaji, how do we meditate? How should I meditate? Like, because he's Maharaji was a prophet of the god, the monkey god. I forgot his name. I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but he was Hanuman. That's it. And he was like, how do we meditate? Like thinking he would give him some Hanuman like chant or some sort of like
Yeah.
something. And he just said, meditate like Christ. And they were like, what? Like we're all a bunch of like dudes in India, like talking like, what are you talking about? And meditate like Christ. And he goes, meditate like Christ. When he was on the cross, he wasn't, he was lost in love. Like he was lost in the love of everybody and everything. Even though he was being crucified, he was doing it because he loved everybody. And they were like, okay. And then like a little bit later, they asked him, but how did Christ meditate? What did he do to meditate? Like, how do you meditate like Christ? And Maharaji closes his eyes and starts crying for like a good solid 2 minutes and then says, don't you understand? He never died. He was lost in love. The entire time he was literally just lost in love. Even when he was flipping the tables, even when he was being crucified, all this stuff, it was always about love. And I think that's like the simplest term. Like I know I shared that video of Kendrick talking, and Kendrick
Yeah.
said the simplest thing we can get down to is love. And I know that sounds so, people don't
It
want to hear
sounds so
that.
cliche, but it's the truth. Like in the Bible, like what were the Ten Commandments?
Yeah.
People think, oh, they were like laws to get into the afterlife or whatever. Like you have to follow them, but basically all they're doing is telling you to either love or telling you to not love. Like
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? Like it's all just outlined by love. Like the key is to love people. And
right.
that's what Jesus pounded home with everything that he said. It was all about love.
Right. And like that
And that's the
don't wanna hear
underlying
that.
thing of every religion, pretty much.
Yeah, people don't want to hear that because people want to hold on to their grudges. I mean, I know me, there are times I don't want to let go of me being angry at somebody. Like sometimes I'm like, no, they deserve, like I'm angry at them, like all this stuff. But in reality, that anger doesn't mean shit. Like in
Yeah.
reality, like someone cutting me off in traffic, like who cares? Like we're all just doing whatever it is we do. And it is really is comes down to the simplest term, which is love. And I think I think what's happening now, not to get too deep into it, but like what's happening now, like with just everything, it seems like the media is trying to show us that we're at the end times. This is the apocalypse, all this stuff like that, like because things are, going off the deep end or whatever. I think what's happening is almost, I hate to get cheesy about it, but it's almost like a mass awakening. Like we're all kind of waking up to things that are going on, and it's disorientating. Like when babies first come out of the womb, they cry because they're like, what the heck? Like I'm not in this, I'm in a
Yeah.
completely new realm. Like what's going on? And I think we're reaching a point where we're realizing that we are all one. Like this, like as cheesy as like the hippies have made it, and as cheesy as like, you might have heard in movies and whatnot, like we really are one thing, and this is one thing that is happening. Even though we're all separated in different perspectives and all this stuff, we all come from the earth. Like we all come, God created the earth and all this stuff, but we're all growing out from what is happening. It's like an expansion of things. But I guess we got really caught up in spirituality. That's like my whole side of things. I like talking about it with you, especially. Let's get back onto music a little bit, just because we're hitting about an hour, I think now.
Oh
So
shit.
yeah,
Doesn't
no, I
even
know
seem like
it
it.
goes by because I'm looking at the time. I didn't even check like what time we started, but it was about an hour ago, just almost. So, um, with what I'm going to ask you this: what's your, without giving away too much of your plan, what does your future look like when it comes to your music?
Well, if I could manifest anything into existence, the ideal way that I see it is obviously exploring like a bunch of different genres, figuring out my sound, which I feel like with every song I make, I'm getting closer to it.
Mm,
Like just figuring out what works, because when you make music, it's all just sort of like science, like the mad wavy scientist. Like
mm,
it's really just science, because you throw in a bunch of different stuff together, sounds and flows and cadences and melodies and
right.
harmonies and drums and rhythms and all that. It's like, okay, it's like if I take some like phosphorus and mix it with some hydrochloric acid or whatever, and get this like weird like combustion or whatever. I don't know shit about science. I'm just
No,
talking
no,
out
I know what you
loud.
mean.
But
No, like that's kind of what I was going off. I kind of explained a little bit about how my name pertains to that. Like I'm no musical genius. I don't know shit. Like it's mainly like I listen to sounds and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that sounds cool. Put that together. Like, whatever. But
yeah,
like you're saying, it's an experimentation. It's figuring out like what goes good with what. Like sometimes I'll put a sample and I'll throw some drums over it and I'm like, all right, like, yeah, I'm feeling that. And then I'll like try like a different drum kit and I'm like, oh, that sounds way better. Like, yeah, I'm into
yeah,
that. Like all this
and
shit. But
that's
yeah.
that's that's sort of like a separation, or I see a little bit of a separation between true musicians who know like every like little thing on their guitar or whatever instrument they play. They know how to get everything sounding like this. They know all the music theory behind it, what key everything is. They have perfect pitch, whatever. They can do all that, but if you're not willing to experiment with it, like that's what separates musicians from artists, is the experimentation and
Mm,
just trying to create something. Because shit, I don't know anything about music theory or chord theory, but I can come up with chord progressions and I think they sound pretty decent. I
right.
can play guitar. One of my favorite things to do is to play a guitar solo. You know how I do it? I literally play the chord progression that I got going on or whatever, and I just play whatever notes my hand goes to on the thing and start putting them together, and eventually like I'll just get like a whole solo out of it, because I've just been sitting
Right.
there putting notes together and experimenting. Like some of it might not be in the key, some of it might go out of like the scales or whatever. But I mean, if it sounds good to me, like
Right.
I just trust my ear with it, and it's all experimentation.
Well, that's why I think jazz became so big, is because it didn't matter if you accidentally played the wrong notes, it fit. Like, and I
Yeah,
would say that's some of my best beat work that I've done. Like yeah, I'll find like cool samples and whatnot, but I like when I can throw on like just like a drum pattern and then just like if I get like really high or some shit, I'll vibe out with my keyboard and I'll just like sit there and just press random buttons. And I'm like, okay, that sounded cool. Okay. Like there's a pattern
Yeah.
there and like all this shit. Like it really is. It's catching a vibe and it's like, you know, getting within the spirit of music.
Uh-huh. Totally. And it's like musicians can define everything that we do, like, oh, that's a seventh chord, or like a diminished
Yeah.
11th, and like it could just literally be somebody putting their hand on a keyboard and being like, oh, that sounds good, but they know exactly like what it is and what makes
Right.
that, you know, and that's cool and all. I just don't know how to do that shit, but I can
So,
still somehow piece together music without knowing any music theory.
oh, definitely. So, we're gonna kind of wrap this up soon. But what I want to ask, based off of that, is how do you differentiate? Like, when I was talking to Waterloo and Camp Sky, we brought up the difference between um, these overly. There seems to be a side of rap, especially that's like lyrical, miracle, spiritual, real deep,
Yeah.
conscious rap. And then there's also like the mumble trap, like hype shit, whatever
Mm,
you want to call it. And it's like they're the best artists are the ones, not that they just switch back and forth, but that they can actually find like a weird middle
mend
ground. Or
them. Yeah.
like Denzel Curry is probably my favorite, one
JPEG
of my favorite.
Mafia.
JPEG
You listen to
Mafia,
him.
dude. Like some of these rappers, like
Crazy.
they're finding that middle ground. They're like, I don't, you know, I can be all over the place. And there are rappers who will try to do both, and it's like, no, you should just stay in your lane. But at the same time, there are some rappers who like can just jump all over the place. So like, what 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 am I asking here? How do you find your middle ground amongst all of that? Like,
Well, I'd say what helps me out is just working on a lot of different like styles of songs. Like I have a lot of boom bap stuff, like where it's like all old school, and then I just go all out with that.
right.
And then there's some songs where, okay, I don't make really like any trap stuff, but I have done before. Like I've learned how to do that style. It's all about learning the style. It's as much as it is experimentation, it's also learning what people have done before you and
Right.
mastering that and implementing that into your style. So it's like I can just sort of like I've never learned anything about rhyme schemes or like like fucking whatever like
Yeah.
different flows and stuff. I've just learned by listening to the music and then just imitating it what I know and then turning it into my own thing. So it's like if I know that I could definitely do different flows and different shit because of all the stuff that I've listened to. Like even when it comes to like the stuff that I do that's more like indie, it's because I've listened to like old like rock and like different genres. It's all music is or not all of it, but for me music is drawing inspiration from different references. Like I listen to so many different types of music that I can just implement a bunch of different styles into what I'm doing.
Mm.
So I'm sort of getting off the question, but finding that middle ground is listening to a lot of different music. And because like we said in the beginning, like you always trying to be like your favorite artist, you draw inspiration from people. And
Mm.
because it obviously if you're only listening to boom bap, you're gonna only make boom bap because you haven't heard any different reference point.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
it's
that
all about like where you're coming from as an artist, and that's how you
definitely.
find that middle ground, I think.
I think it definitely goes off of I keep going back to like the past interviews that I did because like I'm this is me gathering information from other people.
Yeah.
Like I like to think that I'm super smart and super all into all this shit, but like it's really is just I'm trying to learn from what everyone else is saying too. And I think it goes back to what both I was talking about with Fred and with Waterloo and Cam Sky, where timing is everything, where like when you release like a certain type of song or whatever, like Fred brought up a point. I don't even know if this was in the interview. I think this might have just been a time we were hanging out where he was talking about like, oh, like he might have been talking about you actually. I don't remember, but he said like, oh, Luca has this song, or maybe I don't remember. So he said somebody had this song, and he told them like, wait to release it till summer because it's such a summer sounding
Oh
song.
yeah,
Like,
I do have.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that was me.
okay, yeah, no, he was bringing that up. He was like, definitely like because there are songs that you're like, this is such a good song, I should release it now. But if everything's like cold and dead outside and you're trying to release a hype, like sunny kind of sounding song, like sometimes
Yeah.
like the duality of it can like work well. But in most parts, like you're just kind of like, well, I wish I could be driving around listening to this, like whatever it is. But like,
And sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
And it's really tricky too, though, because that song that he's talking about probably never gonna get released.
Oh,
We worked on it. We worked on it last fall or something like that. Got to summer, and it's probably never gonna get released because like there's a quote from John Mayer that says, "You sitting on your own music is like showing up late to your own party."
that's
Like
true.
it's sort of like I could release a song from like months back, and I don't like get all hype about promoting it because I've heard it so many times, and I've sort of got like started to doubt certain things. I know like every like spot that I've messed up on. So I don't know. There is a lot of strategy towards releasing songs, but you you should try to not overcomplicate it at the same time. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying?
Definitely. Okay. Well, I'm gonna end with this then. Um, is there any last things that you want to like bring up or talk about according to whether it be music, spirituality, politics, hype?
Hmm. I
Anything you feel like
would.
people want to talk? Anything you want to touch on that you feel like people should hear or anything like that?
Huh. Let me think. I just need 30
Mm.
seconds max. Um, we can just cut this out, but
No, you're good. Yeah.
um, oh, I think I want to talk about. So you know how you see the posts where like um a lot of people will support a shitty song from like a super popular artist, but they won't like support their friend's song that's great.
Yeah.
So just sort of going off of that idea is like I think it's so weird how some people will only listen to certain music because other people listen listen to that music currently, and that or like somebody they know is like listening to that. Like it's weird how people are influenced on a song, and this could go into so many different topics, not just music, but
Right.
it's interesting to me how people deny themselves the ability to form their own opinion on something and just regard somebody else's opinion as their own. That's
Definitely.
something I'd like to
It's
talk about.
easy for people to almost like shut off that part of their brain where they're like, okay, like there's been so many times I've listened to an artist and been like, yeah, that sounds okay. And then like I'll hear somebody shitting on them and I'm like, yeah, actually, you know what? They're right. Like I'll it's like but you were saying like you got to find your truth in yourself. Like you got to like music is subjective and supporting there are so many things like your friends releasing music and whatnot like compared to like these hype artists. um you got to ask yourself which one do you enjoy more, like what like supporting your friends is always important and I think it should always happen like and all this stuff, but if your friend makes a shitty song are you going to tell him like
You should. Well, it
yeah.
depends on what stage you're at. If it's a shitty, it depends on the situation. If
Mm,
it's a shitty song, but you can see potential in it, um, yeah, I mean, why not support them if they show commitment to it and like
right.
constantly improving themselves? Because that is, I mean, everybody starts with. I mean, all my songs were shitty for like the first year that I made music, pretty much.
Mm,
But it's sort of um, like you want to fuel someone's fire, but only if like they're not trying to make a fire with like some wet logs or some shit like that. It's not ever gonna start to get sparked up and going. Like you want to like help out if you can see their potential to an actual outcome that they'll be satisfied with, instead of something that's just a dead end road that'll lead them to pretty much no happiness and just feel let down on something. You know
mm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. So Okay, let's go ahead and wrap this up then. Is there anything that you would like to promote, talk about, like say like, oh, because I know with COVID going on right now, it's kind of like hard, but like it seems like you're still working, you're still active.
Yeah, a little bit. I would like to promote the Blessings music video dropping this Friday.
Hell
So,
yeah.
um,
Friday.
Friday, this
This
Friday.
might come out after, so I'm not sure yet, but
Okay,
definitely
so Friday, is Monday, July 13th. So, fuck, I suck at math. 14th, Tuesday, 15th, Wednesday, 16th, Thursday, 17th, Friday the 17th. So if
fire.
this drops after that, just know it's already out.
Definitely, definitely.
That's and then you can look it up on Fred the Black Kid's YouTube or Cervase Media.
So I definitely want to get you and Fred more involved with what we're doing with the new state. I know we keep promoting the new state and then stuff seems to not really happen. It's because we got so much under, like we got a bag full of like different things we're ready to unleash, but a lot of it was events planned for this summer and we can't do events necessarily. Like we're trying to figure out if there's like a way we can host like an outdoor thing or, get permits to do this and that. But also, I don't know if I'm going to include this part in the podcast because I don't want to get anybody too excited about it or anything like that. But just to let you know, Dima and I were talking about he wants to do a beat tape with me. Like me and him, we're gonna like kind of collab, and because he knows a lot about like the mixing and he's got a lot of sounds and things like that, and he does production and
Yeah,
whatnot. And we were talking about possibly doing like a state sessions mixtape where we get all these Wisconsin artists like say, hey, you want to contribute? Like we'll provide you, do almost like a Revenge of the Dreamers type of thing, where
yeah,
like get all these different people together and just like record like this awesome tape. But I definitely want to keep you guys involved. I think what you got going on with New World Order is amazing, and I think even though New State is where you guys seem a lot more DIY and straight to the point and like, yeah, let's just get it done. Like Nate seems to be doing a whole lot. He's a hard
yeah.
worker. Like, holy shit.
You be doing
Uh,
most of that shit, bro. You be
yeah, no,
doing
and
like damn near everything. Like
it blows my
we just
mind
help with the manual labor type shit.
because like I consider myself to, like I don't want to talk too bad about myself, but I consider myself to be a little bit lazy. And so when I see someone like Nate just constantly working, constantly pushing things, I'm
It
like,
makes me feel like shit, bro. And I'm
dude,
on him damn near like every other day, and I'm like, fuck. So this is what it takes.
bro, he's serious about that shit. But I'm saying like with us doing like the new state, I think Wisconsin is the next up. Like I think we had we had the East Coast, we had the West Coast, we had the South. Chicago was doing a lot with Kanye and Chance and all that shit.
Yeah,
I've already predicted it, I've already manifested it. I believe it'll still happen. Is that however long from now, 10, 20 years from now, there will be an artist that says, I came from Kenosha and I was a New World Order artist, or I come from Milwaukee, I was the New State artist, and like I'm
yeah,
just excited to see that shit. So man, I appreciate you talking to me, even though I could keep going for hours, honestly. But
bro. I know we both could. We
dude, I
both
want to
could.
I want to link up soon. I'm trying to figure out my living situation. I might be moving to Wales or some shit, but
Wait, like Wales in the UK?
no, Wales,
I was like,
Wisconsin.
oh,
I
I was like,
Yeah,
oh, just
no,
trying to
no.
figure out if I'm gonna move to Europe or not.
No, like right now it sucks because it's like I want to move closer to Milwaukee, so I'm more involved in the scene and more involved in all that shit. But
Yeah,
realistically, it's looking like I'm actually moving more towards the west, which is like where I kind of went to high school and whatnot, because I got friends out there, and I need a better place for my dog, and I need a cheaper rent and all that shit. But yeah, no, I'm hoping I can start coming down to Kenosha more, so we can start like just linking up, whether it's just
oh
talking,
yeah,
making music, doing whatever. Like I'm ready.
both.
I'm ready for this shit. So, all right, man. I genuinely appreciate it. I'm gonna hop off now. Like I said, any last words? Nope. Okay.
My last words are I enjoy being on here, bro. Thank you for
Dude.
having me.
Hey, thank you. I gotta hit up Marcus too and see when he wants to do this. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. So don't get lost in the hype. Everyone go check out Luca. Luca, how do you pronounce your last name? I'm sorry.
Mantuano.
Okay, so I was a little close.
What were
Okay,
you? Wait, what were you gonna say?
the Mantuano. Like I just a little bit more of a
Almost, almost.
almost, yeah. All right.
Tap,
So
you gotta kind of say it like it is. So, you know, you gotta talk it like
Mantuano.
Mantuano.
All right, man. I'm gonna log off here. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Have a great night.
Peace out. You too, bro. Be
See ya.
smooth. Let me know when you're coming down to Kenosha.
I shall. I shall. Have a good one.
You too.
I don't know where I've been these days. Fit your feet up inside these J's. Get your free lunch and Netflix reruns and never become the things you dream of. Engage your demons, pledge allegiance.